Hi, welcome back to another craft video from the Kansas City Campus Public Library. I'm Cheryl, and this is the third in our series of jewelry making videos. Now, in the first video, we talked about the tools and general findings and things that you would need for making jewelry. In the second class, we made these lovely little earrings, and today we are going to build on those techniques that we learned in the second class, and we're going to be making a matching necklace to go with these earrings. So I've picked out some beads that will go with them. I have gotten some head pins to make the dangles. I've gotten some chain for the necklace. You will also need a few jump rings and a clasp. I prefer the lobster claw style. Now, when it comes to chains, you have to match the style of chain to the project that you're doing. The earrings we made last time are a rather delicate little pair, so I have these 3 different silver chains in my supplies that I want to decide which one I should use. This one is a little too heavy duty, doesn't match the delicate style, so I'm going to set that aside. We won't be using those. I've got these 2 styles of chains, both of which are rather delicate and would match the style perfectly. However, I'm going to need to put a jump ring through this chain. The jump rings I have, I checked to see if they would go through the holes of the chain. This one has links that have holes that are too small for me to fit a jump ring into it, so I won't be using that one. You should always check and make sure that your jump rings will go through the chain that you've picked. So this one I've checked, and the jump rings will fit through those holes, the holes in the link. So what I've got to do now is I've got to figure out how long I want my necklace to be. Then I will cut the chain to the proper length. Now there will be a section in the back about this long, so about 1/2 inch or so, where you will have your jump rings and your hooks. So if you really want it to be a particular length, cut it 1/2 inch shorter than that to allow for the distance for the clasp. When you have a chain, some of the chains will have links that you can twist open, just like you do jump rings. Other chains where the links are sealed together or welded together, you will need to cut with your wire cutters. Check and see which kind you've got beforehand. Usually the thicker, heavier ones you can usually open those with your pliers like you do jump rings, which is good because the heavier wire tends to be a little harder on your wire cutters. But with chain as delicate as this, it doesn't really matter. Your wire cutters will cut through them just perfectly. So I'm going to take a second. I'm going to measure how long I want my necklace, and I'll be right back. I've decided that I want this to be about 19 inches. So I've measured out the right amount, and I'm going to cut it right at that area. And then I can, if it doesn't open, I can use the pliers to twist it open once I've cut the link. Set the rest of that aside, and now I've got the length that I will need. Now I'm going to create a bunch of dangles that will match my earrings. I have both blue and clear crystals, and I think I want to alternate the blue and the clear. So I'm going to create half my dangles with the crystal squares, and I'm going to create half my dangles with the blue squares. I'll go over how you create a dangle once more, just like we did in the earring class. So I'm going to take a head pin. Remember, a head pin is the one that has a stop on the end of it, not a loop. So I'm going to get a smaller bead and thread it on. Then I'm going to get one of my square beads, thread it on, another small bead to match the earrings. And I'm going to create a loop. I'm going to use my round nose pliers for this. Get up really close to the beads, bend it back just a little bit so that it's at a nice angle that way. And I will grab it about halfway down the pliers. It's facing out toward the back side, so I'm going to wrap it around toward the front. Readjust, turn my pliers just a little bit so I can continue to wrap. Hold it, wrap it right up next to the wire so there's no space. So I've got that. Now I will want to cut off the extra here. So I'll take my wire cutters, put the flat part as close as I can up there. And remember to cover this end part or hold it while you cut, otherwise it will go flying. There we go. Set that aside. Now it seems to be a little bit too far, so let me try it, get that a little bit closer. Drop the other part. There we go. Now I'm not going to close it up right now because I still have to put it on the necklace. I'm just going to make several of those in both colors, and I'll be right back. So I'm back now. I have created 4 clear crystal dangles and 5 blue crystal dangles. I think 9 will be a good number on the front of my necklace. Also, odd numbers are a lot more pleasing than even numbers in a lot of instances, especially if you're doing necklaces, because if they're alternating colors, you want one color in the middle and then you alternate colors going outward, then you will need whatever color is in the middle, you will need an extra one of those to go in the middle. So if you'll see what I mean, we're going to do it this way. There we go. So you see, that's how my pattern's going to be. You can either put the dangles on now first and then do the clasp, or you can do the clasp first and then do the dangles. I kind of like to do the dangles first, but that's just me. So I'll find the center portion of my chain. So there is my center of my necklace, and that's the one I will want to put on. And remember, I did not close up these loops. I wanted them open just a little bit so they're not closed, so I can just slide it right on. One thing you have to be careful of with delicate chains is if you put the dangle on, sometimes there's not enough room for it to hang freely. You'll need to be careful about how you put it on. On this small of a link, I need to make sure that it's looped like this, with one end of the chain on each side, not both ends of the chain on one end. So I will put my dangle in there. Then I'm going to grab this with my pliers. Now remember from the first 2 videos, we never open and close rings or loops like this, we always use a twisting motion to avoid stressing the metal. So I'm going to twist this, and I like to give it a little wiggle so that I can feel it touching. And there's my first dangle. So now I need to figure out how far apart I want these dangles to be. I think that's about right for what I want. Let me make sure that the spacing is right. So that's about how much it will be in the front of my necklace, on my chest. I think that's right. So now I'll count the loops in between. So I've got 1, 2, 3, and then I'll put it on the 4th loop. And then, so that will give me a way to do each one of these. All right, so I'm going to count 4 loops. And that's a perfect one for a chain like this. On chains like this, where you can see that some of the links are going flat and some of them are going vertical, you will definitely need to have put it on an even number. So you've got 1, 2, 3, 4. You'll notice the 4 is going the same way. 1, 2, 3, 4. The 4th one is going the same way. So that's perfect for this kind of chain. Now, when it comes to this kind of chain where all of the links are flat, you don't have to worry about that. Doesn't matter which link you put them on, they're all going to hang nicely. Also, when you put this on the chain, you will need to make sure it's not rotated, because you do not want to have this one going downward and then accidentally put the other dangle going upward. So you'll need to make sure your chain is not rotated at all and that they're all going downward. So you can see I'm going to put it, my finger, I'm going to run it across my finger and hold it steady there. And that's the one I'm going to put another dangle on. Sometimes it's a little bit tricky holding the dangles with the beads on it because the beads tend to slide around. So sometimes I actually like to grab it with my pliers like this in order to hold it steady, but whatever works for you is fine. It's just a little hard to grip that sometimes when the beads want to rotate and turn around and around. So now I'll put this one on, give it a little wiggle. All right, so I will count 4 from here. 1, 2, 3, 4. That's the link I need to put it on. This is a little tricky, getting the hang of handling the little tiny pieces until you get used to it. It will feel very awkward and your fingers will feel way too big and you won't be able to grab it very easily. And it is a little frustrating working with small, delicate pieces like this at first. So you might want to get the hang of things by starting with larger chain and possibly more casual beads, larger dangles, before you move on to the small, delicate pieces. But it's strictly up to you. and what you think you can handle doing. So I'm going to pause the recording and I'm going to finish putting all the dangles on. And I'm back. I now have all of my dangles attached to my chain, so now it's time to do the clasp. I have a lobster claw clasp here and 3 jump rings. I will take one of the jump rings and hold it with the pliers. When I grab it, I will want to have the seam in the jump ring away from me, that way. Now if I'm good with my other hand, I can actually take another set of pliers and do twist to open it. If not, I can get a jump ring opener that will help me open it that way. Now remember, we never open jump rings this way. We always use a gentle twisting motion, and you only want to open it as far as you need to get the clasp onto it. So I'll take and put this side into one of the slots on the jump ring opener, and I will twist it gently, still holding it with the pliers till it's open. Then I can thread the clasp on there, and I can thread the end of the chain on there, then reinsert the jump ring and twist it back, giving it a little wiggle and making sure it's touching. On the other end, we're going to put 2 jump rings because the clasp can't fit inside one of those tiny little links, so we'll need to put a couple of jump rings on there to give the clasp something to attach to. So we'll find the seam of the jump ring, hold it firmly with the seam facing away, slide it in the slot, twist just a little bit, thread another jump ring on there, and the other end. And then close it back up. Now we can use the clasp with those jump rings. And there we have our finished necklace to go with our earrings. Come back next time when we'll learn a great new project with even more techniques from the Kansas City, Kansas Public Library. I'm Cheryl. Have a nice day.